So welcome to another video from theplayersaid.com. My name's Alexander.
And I'm Grant.
And today we are doing a somewhat belated debrief for January of 2022. And I realize that it is almost the end of February when you're watching this. But guess what? There's another one coming about in a week and a half.
This has been a hard month. I mean, it's been a weird month.
Yeah.
We've had some weather issues. We've had a lot of family activities, and
it's been wild.
Yeah, it's been interesting.
And I'm sure we're not the only ones that's the case.
Yeah.
And
it's short, right? February is a short month.
Yes. So
things have just gotten out of hand.
It's taken us a long time to record this, but what we're talking about is all the stuff we did in January. So
January.
You wait for the February one to go. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, so this is episode 1 of Season 2
of
the monthly debrief series.
And
that's interesting.
This episode is brought to you by a sponsor.
For the first time ever.
For the first, technically not.
Right, we had another one,
yes.
A one-shot.
But for Noble Knight Games, you know who they are. NobleKnightGames.com. They buy and sell war games and board games and miniatures and all sorts of stuff. They've sponsored us this, which we appreciate it very much. We'll hear more about them later on in the video. So, January. It seems so long ago.
It feels like it was 20 days ago.
Yeah, it really does. So, what did we play in January?
We actually, as we were going through, we played a bunch.
Yeah, January
we
was a bunch.
We played a lot of games. We just didn't play a lot of games together.
Yes.
Which is kind of weird.
Yeah, it's, January and February, both, January was packed out with stuff, and then there was some heavy weather, so our war game playing's been somewhat erratic.
Yeah, it
with
has.
The two of us.
Well, my birthday was at the end of January. My anniversary was at the beginning, after the holiday. I mean, it's just been.
We had Second Thanksgiving. We were playing D&D,
and
a whole bunch of other stuff.
Second Thanksgiving? What is that, you might ask?
Second Thanksgiving is the greatest holiday of all time. Second Thanksgiving is exactly what it says on the tin. Thanksgiving's great. We love Thanksgiving dinner. The food's amazing.
We're having 2 of them.
So we just have another one, and we do it we do it in January.
Typically the Sunday before Martin Luther King Day.
Yes, because it's a long weekend, so we're getting together on that Sunday with the family, and it's invite only. So you don't have to spend it with the family you don't like. So take that tradition and spread it in the world, and eat more turkey.
And you know what? We always have a good time. Always.
Every time.
I mean, the food was good.
It's almost better than regular Thanksgiving.
Because there's less people. It's just not as crowded.
Yeah.
I feel like we can
all the good stuff, none of the bad stuff.
We don't have to do what everyone else does.
Yeah.
We kind of just do our own thing.
Yeah,
it's great.
The football is somewhat different, if there's any, or it's playoffs.
It's playoff football.
So
we were depressed because the Colts didn't make it.
Yeah, that's the only different part.
But anyway, Second Thanksgiving, that's another reason.
Yeah, we
didn't get the monthly debrief shot
as much stuff. So, I played a bunch of solo stuff in January.
Yep.
And it was a bunch of Worthington stuff. So I played around in their Bismark Solitaire, which is one of their game books.
Is that good? Because I have a copy. I haven't even looked at it yet. Is it good?
Well, I haven't played much of it.
Okay.
I completed the training one, and
you've done some scribbles.
It was learning, and I feel like I did really well in it.
Okay.
But, as it ramps up, I'm hoping it gets a bit more challenging and difficult.
So are all the missions different, or is it just the same mission that can happen differently?
So there's 8 different missions, and you can play each mission 3 times. There's 3 pieces, there's 3 sheets of each one. So you could either, if you do really badly, you can replay it and then replay it. Or you could use, I've seen people using tracing paper so you don't actually mark the books and stuff like that. But, there's 8 different missions, is the reality of it. So you could play through the campaign 3 times if you wanted. And just kind of take it as, you get 1 shot at each one.
Okay.
Or you can do multiples. But, this is the first of their game books. They've got Waterloo one, and they've got a couple other in the pipeline as well, which are different and also look very interesting as well.
Have you done a video on this?
No, I want to play a little bit more before I do that.
I might try to run through the training scenario just so I understand the general mechanics.
It's pretty simple.
Okay.
You just choose where to move your 3 kind of surface units, and then when you get into a box, an event happens in that box, and you roll to see what happens, and if it affects your guys, and if it does, there's like combat that you roll. It's dice rolling that I'm not good at.
Got it.
It's awful.
So you're the Bismarck.
Yeah, so you have the Bismarck, you have the Prince Eugen, and then a U-boat pack.
Oh, okay.
And so the U-boat pack's very slow, but it can do some certain things, and it's just like an ancillary unit that you can use to protect and to fend off attackers. And then the Bismarck can move 3 spaces, the Prince Eugen can move 2 spaces, and you're just, you're going out hunting British capital ships, trying to shoot them before they shoot you, and then get back to port safely.
You want to see something real quick? Fastest unboxing video ever. Done. I think you already stole that joke. I think you already had that on your thing. So you played that.
I played that.
At least the introductory
played that a little
scenario.
bit. I also played that Tarawa 1943.
I played that in December. Yes. It was fantastic.
I cracked this out, played it a couple times. Brutal game. Horrible.
It is one of those games, and you saw it because you played it.
Oh, yeah.
The game can be over before it even starts.
Yeah, first round.
You have a landing phase, and you're rolling 4 dice on your guys. The Japanese are firing on you. You have a formation made up of 3 blocks, and it is very possible, and it has actually happened to me several times, that I took 3 hits on multiple of my invasion forces, and they were wiped out.
And you can't recover from that in that game.
No, you can't.
So you're just like, we chalk that up as well.
And it's what it is. You just have to understand it's punishing. It's difficult. It's actually difficult to do what you want to do as well.
Yes, I agree.
You're rolling dice. You're trying to match numbers, so nothing happens until there's doubles of a number for you. The Japanese, they hit on single numbers. Yeah. But they also can do more damage to themselves through bonsai attacks. But it's a fantastic game. I've played it 5 or 6 times. I won once, but I'm not sure I won because...
Yeah, I think I lost horribly both times.
My score was just...
It's like a Pyrrhic victory.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at my dead guys and they were all toast, but several times I was obliterated. So a great game, but you're not going to win that very often. In fact, I'm not sure it's really consistently winnable. But I don't care what you do.
In a light solitaire game, you want something that's challenging.
It's what you want. Challenge, yeah.
And you put out a review and a full playthrough of that game as well.
I think we did the review so far. The playthrough, I think, is scheduled for later this month.
Okay.
Or later. But a review, talked about the mechanics, talked about the game, and I really liked it.
More content on that is coming.
Yeah. I'm glad you enjoyed it because I like those solo games.
Another solo game from Worthington I played is Keep Up the Fire, the Boxer Rebellion. So this is a States of Siege game, one of the deluxe ones that they've redone. This was excellent. Very challenging. But
I haven't played it yet.
Yeah, I shot a full Blonzy's review of this. That's going to post sometime in March, I believe.
Did you shoot a playthrough?
No, but I showed the board and how it all works and stuff. But this is, this is a piece of history I didn't know about. So it was a great learning experience as well. A very this is probably the most challenging States of Siege game I've ever played, I think.
And the reason is?
Yeah, the reason is you've got a regular States of Siege game going on. Hard enough as it is.
All the stuff you got going on over there.
Really easy to lose that one.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter what happens here. You have to get the Peking relief column of the 8-nation army through this insanely difficult gauntlet. And if you don't do that, it doesn't matter what happens in Peking.
You can win the States of Siege Big Bang main board.
Your supplies run out, your relief column doesn't arrive, and you still lose.
Get overrun, yeah.
Yeah, the garrison surrenders. You have to get the relief column then. It's so difficult to do that.
So it's doubly hard.
It's 2 very challenging games in one.
Most States of Siege series games, I found that the first 2-3 plays, it's just trying to figure it out, and you just get obliterated.
Yeah, I think I lost on card number 5 of my first game of this.
That's great.
I'd misread the losing conditions.
Oh, okay.
I was like, they didn't get into the central space. Well, if they've got 3 in the streets, you lose.
Then
I'm like,
got it.
My mistake.
I need to play that because it's beautiful.
Very.
And it's a deluxified edition of John Welch's game that was 15 years ago.
And it's such an interesting piece of history with the coalition forces that were there, and
right?
you pick up some of that through the cards and the texts that are in the rules. Really, really, really enjoyed that. What else have we got getting played in January?
Well, I played in January and I actually shot a review video of this. This is a really cool little game from Stratomax Games. This was a Kickstarter about 2015, so this is a second edition. This cost me $35. And I know you might look at it, oh, it's a small, tiny box, $35. What the heck? 2 big decks of cards. It's just really cool.
Oh, and it's a small company.
Yeah, it's a small company, a small print run. But you're an airborne commander, so you are invading. You're jumping in on D-Day, and your whole goal is to destroy the German defenses, the units and the defenses, so that the invasion is successful. Very cool. It's kind of a deck building-esque game where you're buying cards. You're trying to get not get bad cards in it, so that your deck is functioning well. And it plays pretty quick, about 30, 35 minutes. And frankly, it's fun. I've played this about 15 times. And now I would say it's easier than I thought it would be. My first couple times, I'm like, holy crap, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. Once I figured it out, it's like, okay, as long as I get past this point, I'm going to do well. But it's fun. I enjoyed it. I'm glad I bought it. And it's on the Game Crafter. So check it out. But I played that a ton, did a video. Didn't do a playthrough because there's several playthroughs out there. But it's a fun game.
Okay. I played... So, I'm still going in a couple of vassal-based asynchronous coin games. One of which is Liberty or Death. We, as of recording, I need to actually take my turn. We just got to the first propaganda card.
Oh my goodness. You've been playing that for a month.
Yeah, it's been slow. Because other people have a lot of stuff going on, and we're playing with a guy in Australia, so it's like... I'm taking my turn, and if it's his turn, it's like a full 24 hours before it gets back to anyone else, kind of thing. But, you know, and everyone else has other stuff going on. But that's why we play async, because it doesn't matter the time.
Who are you playing? What faction?
The British.
Okay.
We drew randomly, and that's what I got.
That's a hard one to win with.
It is. I've got, like, as things stand, I haven't looked. I have decent amount of support.
Okay.
But we haven't done any, like, real fighting yet, so none of the casualties have gone up. I need to get positive casualties
on the Patriots.
On the Patriots, and then I can, like, start really turning the screws over. But it's still very early in that game.
The hard part about that game for the British is the Patriots do their rabble-rousing.
Yep.
And just cause so many issues, and it just can really be tough to gain support.
And they're just everywhere.
Yeah, so fun game.
Yeah, it's a tough one. It's fun. It's always enjoyable to play. I really like it, though.
That is a very thematic game. We're going to talk later about thematic games, but I enjoyed really any of the coin games. I think are thematic.
Yes,
but
playing in that, and then I'm also playing a game of Gandhi as well.
Lovegandhi.
This one, I think. This one's not going very well.
Okay. Who are you in that one?
The British Raj.
Okay.
Also drawn randomly.
The British. Wow. That's interesting.
Yeah, right. Things were going okay, and then everyone decided that they wanted their freedoms. It was very frustrating as the Raj. So they're all like, oh, we're going to start a revolution. Or, we're going to start a bunch of protests. Like, if only. So I was doing all right. After the first kind of epoch card, or whatever it's called, I was like, I spent a bunch of money, and like I was up there with support where like support and control where I'm like I'm threatening very early
for a victory.
But things have drastically turned on me, and the revolutionaries are like 1 point away from winning, and we're very close to the next propaganda card. So I was like, oh,
that non-violent faction and the Gandhi faction are devilishly clever.
Yeah, those guys are just gumming it up for me. I can't fight the revolutionaries very well, so their king making right now is very frustrating. So it's great. I love it very much.
So it's interesting, that game, as a Brit, right? How do you feel about those kind of end of empire style conflicts that you're playing games about?
They're always fascinating.
Okay.
Because I live in a post-imperial UK, and no one with a sound mind is like, oh, let's go back to that. Right? It was repression. The way that they were treating people was atrocious.
Yeah.
But getting to play around in that and experience how the different kind of ideologies grew and spread,
is fascinating.
and how kind of the public opinion changed across the land and being able to kind of do that and get into that, boy, it's so interesting. And, you know, how many other games cover that kind of a topic?
Yeah.
Almost zero.
Yeah.
I've got 10,000 bold games on my shelf.
Right.
But only one about this.
Yeah.
And this is a frankly much more fascinating topic.
So the reason I asked that is, you know, Stephen Rangazis is designing that the British way.
Yes.
Which is the first coin multi-pack. So it literally has 4 games in the box. And they're smaller maps. They're kind of akin 12 spaces on each.
And they're 2-player ones, aren't they?
They're only 2-player. So it adopts that Colonial Twilight from Brian Train's sequence of play. But all 4 of those are about the British Empire and their counterinsurgency campaigns in places like Palestine, Kenya, Malaya. Where's the 4th one?
I don't know, and I should.
Anyway, it's just fascinating. I have an interview coming out with him, and I read that interview with him after he did it, and I was like, wow, that is going to be a fantastic experience because they're each so different, but use the coin system mechanics. I'm fascinated by it.
I'm very excited for that game because, again, let's shed some light on some of these...
Palestine is the other one.
You'd said Palestine already.
Did I?
Palestine, Kenya, Malaya, and a 4th one.
I don't remember.
But yeah, I'm all for
Looks
that.
awesome.
That stuff's interesting, and being able to experience some of that, you know, in a game format at least, is always an interesting intellectual and cultural exercise.
Yeah.
So yeah,
once again, that whole coin series system is really, it's designed to create a multi-faction experience where everybody plays a little differently. Some people work together, some people work against each other, and then some people are just...
Or temporarily.
Yeah, temporary. You know, and it's just, I'm just so interested in that. So I look forward to that one.
I almost never have a bad time playing a coin game.
No, I don't either.
So yeah, I've got those.
Some people hate coins.
Those 2, playing those through January still. I'll be playing them in February too.
Yeah. You want to do Unhappy King Charles?
Sure.
Because we were supposed to play this.
Yeah. Well,
we were going to play another game.
Yeah, we were going to play
with a friend. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, we had a friend came into town. We were going to have the 3 of us. We were going to play Quartermaster General Cold War,
which would have been very cool. 3-player game on the Cold War.
Yeah, and I read the rules. It's actually very simple. It's kind of a not abstract, but like it's
a little different
area control game.
Okay.
But yeah, you had some meetings that came up late notice, so me and Mike played Unhappy King Charles, which is a Washington's War style game.
On the English
Civil
War.
So
first or second Civil War?
Great question.
Wasn't there 2 of them?
There's at least
17?
2, if not 3.
Okay. What's the dates?
It's King Charles against. I think this is like the 2nd. What do I know? I should know.
You're British. What do you know?
Who cares? We've had so many. They're all meaningless.
Yeah.
So this is such a good game. If you like Washington's War, you will most likely like this. From a mechanical standpoint. This has a couple of extra little exceptions and really chromy bits in it, which are really neat. But it's, you just have placing all of the political influence out, and then like marching armies around, dropping those political influences, fighting each other. Very much in that similar type of vein.
Okay.
It was because it was We the People came out, then this was based off of that, and then Mark redid We the People into Washington's War.
Right.
So they share a lot of the same DNA. I enjoyed this immensely.
We probably need to play that. Together.
This was really good. You would enjoy it.
Are you going to do a video on that one?
Already did. That'll come out in March.
Fantastic. Did you do it with Mike?
No, it was just myself because it was late.
Okay, yeah.
We played it late.
And that was one of the reasons I couldn't come. My meeting started at 6, was over at 7:15. Yeah. By the time I got to your house, it would have been 8:30. That's just too late. And then I had work the next day. So
like he was over at 5, and we were playing this.
That's a hard thing for me to do, just because you live 40 minutes away.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad you guys were able to play that. 2 other games. Purple Haze. So we did a preview video for this. The Kickstarter is it now over?
Well, it was on GameFound, wasn't it?
Right, I said Kickstarter, sorry. Crowdfunding with GameFound.
It went on during January. If not, I'm
was
sure
funded.
You can pre-order it still.
But this is a narrative, kind of almost like a choose-your-own-adventure style
Yeah, it has
game.
like a textbook of paragraphs that
Yeah.
you're going to go and do in encounters, read those, make choices, roll some dice, do some combats. It's dripping with theme. Really good game.
I also really liked the combat system. I thought that was very cool.
Yes,
it's
very
a little
neat.
It's a little abstracted, but it's got some cool elements. And then you've got your squad. So you've got 4 or 5 guys. They've got weapons. They've got equipment. You can build them. You kind of get
They can
experience.
level up and grow skills and specialize. Always love that.
If you like those kind of games, I think this is one of those games that really is going to hit that sweet spot. Kind of like a Warfighter or, Anyway, we really enjoyed that. This is a prototype, and it's a great looking. I think it's a great looking game that was
you're
really
going to put on a playlist, and you're going to play this.
Yeah,
and
you're going to have some Hendrix going in the background.
And when you're done with it, you're going to go and watch Platoon.
Yeah,
right. It was
that good.
A very good experience.
Yeah. I enjoyed it a lot. Then we had Cataclysm Now, and I'm drawing a blank on his name. Ryan. He lives in Fort Wayne, which is just an hour and 40 minutes north of us. Reached out on Twitter, said we wanted to play Conquest and Consequence. It's a 3-player game covering the Pacific Theater of World War II from GMT Games. This was a late 2021 release. I think we got it in around December.
Yeah.
Got it to the table in January, and I loved this game. I had a great time with it.
It was very good.
I played the Japanese, got destroyed. Ryan played the Americans and the British. I think he won the game, right?
It was a tie between himself and me.
That's right, because you were the Soviets and Red China.
Yes.
And he was the American, British, and the
Nationalist
China. Fascinating game. I made a ton of mistakes as a Japanese.
Yeah.
I also rolled really badly. We joked about
disgustingly bad. And improbably bad.
And we talked about it in the video, but when I rolled, there were times where I was rolling 17, 18 dice and needed 2 or less to hit, which I know you're not going to hit a lot, but you would expect statistically to hit 3, maybe 4 times.
Yeah.
On the outside, you might get 5.
Yeah, that's like a good roll.
Yeah. There were multiple rolls in a row where I got nothing.
And multiple doesn't mean 2. It's like 4.
4 or 5. It was,
and you should have been hitting 3 ones on each one of those rolls of 20-odd dice.
So the battles would have been over. But all that said, I enjoyed this.
This was a blast. We played it for 8 hours plus.
Yeah, all day.
It was great.
And TNT, Triumph and Tragedy, is the first game. It's the Eastern,
The European Theater.
Yeah, European Theater, and this is the Pacific. I really enjoyed this. This is a really good game.
And I'll be honest, whilst they share some mechanics, very different
Very
games.
different.
Very different.
The setup is different. The concepts are different. It's just very different.
Yeah, they've got some rules in common, but how the game feels and what you're doing is often just a very different feel to it, which I was impressed with. And I wasn't I was hoping it's just a clone. It's very much not.
The thing I was impressed with it is more often than not when we have played a World War II game, particularly a Pacific Theater game, the Chinese Civil War really is a blip, right? It's a couple of cards or an event or two,
or not included at all.
Yeah, it was not a sideshow.
It was the central thesis.
It was really the central part of the first 3, 4, 5 turns. And really was where most of the action happened.
Because you have to take care of it.
Yes. Or it gets out of hand.
And because if you don't, it will hamper you the rest of the game. It's such an important part of it. And it was really refreshing to see that again.
Yeah.
It was so refreshing to see it again.
So great game, Conquest and Consequence. I actually think that was my favorite game in January. I just enjoyed it that much. Yeah, we played a lot of good stuff. We also played Patria Libre.
Yes, we did. I do not have it. We had to. It's a prototype. We had to send it on.
Malinchi Games. It was on Kickstarter. They funded, so I'm
nice.
glad.
That's good.
A newer company. They have one other game. Very interesting. Kind of had some PAX Premier to it, where you had a card market.
Yes.
You're buying characters, and there were some events in there, and then it was area control. Little bit of fighting. Little bit of moving around, some goals that you're trying to accomplish to score victory points. Not necessarily a true war game, but an enjoyable experience.
Yes.
I think we if we could play it 2 or 3 more times, I think we would have got a much better feel for it.
Let's get ourselves a production copy, a fine edited rule book, and a nice translation, and you got something there.
I appreciate the designer Saul Sanchez. I think he did a great job trying to get us, as quickly as he could. We did a video. I just thought it was a fun game. I enjoyed it. Now, I hope it does well enough that maybe they can do other games down the line. We'll see how it goes.
Always ready for more. And again, a topic I've never played a game about.
Basically Mexican independence from Spain, right?
And just, it's always fun to play and learn about something new.
Yeah, that's what history games are about.
Especially from someone who's, from there, presumably knows what they're talking about in an expert.
Yeah.
So, always appreciate it. So, I think is that all the games we played?
Actually, there's quite a few.
And a lot of Gloomhaven.
And a ton of Gloomhaven online. But we also played some other games we played Pathfinder, right? And then we played some Gloomhaven online. But all in all, a pretty good month now that I think about it.
January, we played a lot of games. February might be a different story. Might not be.
Right.
So, let's talk about the games that we're going to play in February. A lot of which we've already played. So...
Well, you're not supposed to say that.
We're going to play all these games in the next 5 days when this video comes out.
You're not supposed to. You're supposed to. That's the magic of television.
Yes. But
they don't know.
But I don't have the magic of time travel.
All right, well.
So.
We kind of have time travel.
Here's some
games that we've already played.
Yeah, games, these that we played these already in February.
In February, but we're going to play them in February.
Yes.
That's what we've got to say.
Border States from Shakos.
Fantastic little abstract American Civil War game.
Yes.
Really enjoyed it.
French company. Mm-hmm. You can get this pre-ordered in a dual pack with their other game, Saladin. Mm-hmm. They're very different styles, but they're short 2-player format games.
Yes.
So you can get it on its own, but the 2-pack's a good deal, and they're both good fun 2-player games.
Yeah, didn't you say it was like 50?
I think it's €50.
50
for both of them.
So it's like $60, and you got. You said, I thought that was funny. You've paid $50 or $60 for a lot less.
Yeah, I've played €25 for like much worse.
Yeah.
For like food that gave me indigestion and like food poisoning. I'd much rather spend $25 on a game.
This did not give me indigestion. It also did not really hurt my pocketbook that much because it's not that much.
No.
But it was a cool game. I enjoyed it. Little tactical strategy type things. We're fighting over these little states. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. We'll have a review coming out on that sometime soon.
And we got it before Fred Serval.
He was mad about that, wasn't he? He said it's personal.
His French connection's up.
Yeah.
Speaking of Fred Serval.
Yeah.
Red Flag Over Paris. This is his brand new game. His debut game came out from GMT Games. 45-minute 2-player CDG in the Fort Sumter variety.
I think it's called the Final Crisis
series.
Yeah.
Boy, this was
I enjoyed it a lot.
Spicy game.
Yep.
A lot to think about in this game. Very tight.
Yeah, it's and I like Fort Sumter. This really takes Fort Sumter, I think, to the next level. Adds a little bit to it, mixes it around, and really makes a different standalone product that if you like Fort Sumter, you're going to really like this. I think both of them deserve a place on the shelf. You're going to learn something about history with, the Paris Commune. I didn't know what that was, but I learned. Great production, great little mechanics, and we played 2 games tonight. Oh, sorry, we're going to play 2 games, and really had a good time. I felt engaged and really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I love this little small CDG format style.
Yeah.
Fort Sumter 13 Days. I really, really like it just because you can slip it in another gaming session, and I don't know, I enjoy the feeling of the card play and the tension and the tight choices.
Yeah.
And it's an area control kind of dudes on a map style game.
But it really is different than Fort Sumter. So if you're familiar with Fort Sumter, this is different. So give it a shot.
I hope they make a digital app of this like they did for Fort Sumter.
I played that Fort Sumter app a lot.
Exactly. And
those kind of apps become...
To port that, it shouldn't be difficult.
Those little apps become very, very useful for people that have teenagers that you drive here and there and yonder and you end up sitting for an hour and a half. You can play those games really quick. So, and then here's 2 other games that we're going to play. Space Corp Ventures. This is an expansion to Space Corp, which came out in 20... Actually, it's Space Corps, I think we decided.
No, Space Corp. Corporation.
We decided it was Space Corp, sorry.
If it was Space Corp, it would have an S on the end.
Yeah, it's getting late.
Yeah.
Game came out, I think it was 2 years ago, the Space...
Was it 2018? 2019?
Was it 2018? I think it was 2018. But it's a space exploration game where you have 3 different maps and you go through these 3 areas and you score victory points or gain trillion
it's money.
Dollars. This is an expansion, but what it does is it adds unique corporations to start the game.
It adds Space Corps.
Yeah. Whereas in the base game, they're all the same.
Yeah.
Your player mats are the same. You have the same infra on them. This one adds unique with different abilities.
Different starting cards, different infrastructure, different unique abilities, and changes things up.
It did.
Really changed things up. Nice, fresh. And some extra cards in there too.
Yeah. We played with our brother-in-law Brum and our father-in-law John, and John ended up winning, did he not?
I think Brum won. I was heavily
terrible.
in the lead, and then he jumped me at the end with his little genetics that he'd
got it. I got a corp that would have been good for the long haul.
Yeah, we played.
But it didn't start with any of the infra on the board, so I had to spend the first 3 turns building infra. But great game if you like Space Corp. This is just more Space Corp.
Yes. And
more Space Corp.
You'll probably never play without these. If you,
I would agree. Yeah, you're gonna either randomly divvy them up or just decide, I like that one. I'm gonna play that one.
Yeah, and so that same day, because we played Space Corp 4 players, we also played Clash of Cultures Monumental Edition. Yeah. So this is from WizKids. So this is
like a second edition.
Yeah, this is like a 4X style Civ builder.
Yeah, and it took, I believe, the original game and added the expansion that just added more cultures. Before it, very much like Space Corp, everyone was unique. In a game called Clash of Cultures, there were no cultures. Yeah, which is funny.
Space Corp, there were no Space Corps.
Yeah.
So,
did the original have the miniatures that this one? Okay.
Yep.
So it's a pretty highly produced game. It's kind of nice.
So it adds in, the expansion added in the elephants.
Right.
And I think the cav as well, maybe.
Okay.
So yeah, like the original game, Clash of Cultures with elephants on the front. It had no elephants and no cultures.
That's funny.
So it was, and then the expansion came out with all of those things, and it had a very small print run, and it's extremely expensive.
Yeah.
So they announced this, brought it out, and you picked it up, and it's all of that combined in one, and it's a very nice edition.
Yeah. So we'll look forward to talking a little bit about that later. We're also going to do a review or have a review of it. So. What else are we going to do in January?
Okay.
We're going to do in January.
In February.
Oh, February, sorry.
So, we're going to do all those. We've played them all already.
Yeah.
So,
we haven't played this at all.
No.
Yet.
This is what we're actually going to... We get to Fire in the Sky from Tetsuya Nakamura. This is put out by Phalanx.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently it's a very unique style of game.
Yep.
There's some nuance to how this plays, so I'm sure we will butcher it the first time round.
Yeah.
But I'm very excited for this. MMP put this out a number of years ago, and it was out of print for a while. Mm-hmm. It has an iconic front cover on it that was really cool.
Yep.
But it was like $100 secondhand, which is expensive. And then Phalanx put this out for like $45.
Yeah.
Then it was on pre-order. You're like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, that's an easy buy. And it's got nice mounted map, wooden pieces, really thick counters in it. So you're going to get yourself a nice product here. Hopefully, this is good. I'm looking forward to this a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I
love a good PTO game.
I've been looking forward to this since like 2016.
Yep. So we're gonna play that this month, probably next weekend, but we'll see. And then this is a game that we've talked about, I think, twice and just never gotten to the table. And there's no reason for that. It's just...
It's a time thing, that's all. But this month, next weekend, we're going to play Fire in the Sky and this one.
Yep, Assault Horizon 41. So...
Tactical game from a new... Assault
German. So that's our February.
Wow. So that's all the games that we're going to play or have already played. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Woo. So...
I didn't like doing that. We should have done what I said and just acted like we didn't
lied to the people.
Yeah. I didn't like it.
So, Kickstarter.
Yeah,
What is
yeah.
on Kickstarter right now?
What is on Kickstarter right now? We talked about this before the video, and
So-
you know what? I have started to lose it.
There's 4 games that we're going to talk about. 2 of them you have interviews for
Yes.
at the end of this month.
Thank you for reminding me.
You're welcome.
It is from a new designer, Victor Catala, and it is a new company, Do It Games. They are from Barcelona, Spain. He has a Downfall series. The first game is a World War I game called Downfall of Empires. And the second game is called Downfall of the Third Reich, covers World War II. So it's a series, but they're set World War I, World War II. So looking forward to those. I have written interviews on the blog coming out in the next 2 weeks. And the Kickstarter kicks off on February 28th.
Currently, right now, Compass Games has War for America,
Which we backed.
which we backed. It looks very good.
American Revolutionary War.
Yes.
And it's a big game. I don't know if you realize that.
I
bought it.
Yeah.
But I think the short scenario is like 8 hours.
Yeah, I didn't
And
know that.
the long full game is like 20 hours. So,
You know what? It'll be grand.
well, it'll be one of those things. We'll have to do it all on one weekend and just play it for fun. Not worry about winning and understand. Just try to understand it.
Yes.
But it's a game that I've looked at over the past couple of years, and they finally, like they do, before they get ready to release it, they do a quick Kickstarter and they sell an extra 200-300 copies, and we got it. I think it was $60.
Yeah, which for a game that big's pretty
And
good
I
price.
think the retail will be $75 or so. So that's the third Kickstarter. The other one just started a couple of days ago. 1944 D-Day to the Rhine,
Yes.
designed by Dan Forney and from
Worthington,
Worthington
yep.
Publishing. This is a follow-up game to 1944 Battle of the Bulge, which we played in 2021. Really enjoyed that game. It's
Yeah.
a simple...
It's
that was a simple Bulge game.
It's a 2-hour Bulge game.
Yep.
That anyone can pick up and learn. It's really good for what it is.
I think the dice system is pretty cool.
Yeah.
In that one, it makes it very hard.
You got these little custom dice, and
Yep.
you're just rolling symbols, and the dice are not very favorable.
I think there's six-sided dice. There's only,
and there's 2 symbols on each one.
I want to say there's 2 or maybe 3. So it's
just-
you're not going to hit very often. But it's thematic, and I think it fits. So anyway, that one's on Kickstarter. I have an interview on the blog that posted last week.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I've really enjoyed Battle of the Bulge, and I'm happy that they're making a little series, because I'm like,
Yeah.
that's the kind of thing, you get 3 of those,
Mm-hmm.
there's a little trilogy on its shelf, that's going to go on, like, your dad's shelf. That's because,
Because you can play that with your dad.
yeah, they're like 2-hour little war games. It's a piece of history
Yeah.
that are easy to learn, but, like, it's a Hex Encounter war game, and it's got a little bit of beef on it.
Yeah,
Compared to, like, some of the other intro games that are out there.
When we played Battle of the Bulge, I felt like, oh, that was tasty. It had some meat and substance to it. It wasn't like it was just, there was some maneuver, there were some options, and I think that game really came down to the wire when it was good.
I really, really enjoyed that game, and I'm happy that they're doing more in that series, because I think those are the kind of games that will appeal, and that I can recommend to newer war gamers.
Yes.
Oh, what should my first Hex Encounter war game be? I'm like, that's a really easy recommendation for me. So I'm very happy about that. So I think that's everything. Well, I'm sure there's other war games that are on Kickstarter.
Yeah, there's some other Kickstarters.
There always is,
but
those are some of the big ones that are out there.
Yeah.
So, before we get into the meat and potatoes of the topic of this month's debrief, I just want to take 30 seconds for a word from our sponsor, who is Noble Knight Games.
Mm-hmm.
It's nobleknight.com, if you haven't been on their website, and if you're a wargamer, not sure how you haven't. If you don't know, Noble Knight Games buy and sell war games. They buy and sell miniatures and other board games as well, but they have all of the rare and out-of-print games. They have access to a lot of those. If you are liquidating your board games, they will buy them off you, and you can get store credit, and you can buy the other games that you couldn't get. Really, really nice. And the best part is, thanks to their sponsorship for us, we have a coupon code that you can use. If you go onto nobleknight.com, any purchase that you make, you can use the code PLAYAID, PLAYAID, and you'll get 5% off your purchase. Like you said, no limit, no minimum, no maximum.
Yep, you can use it 50 times a month if you want.
Yes.
So get some games and get knocked off a couple bucks.
Yeah, I've used them a number of times in the past. They're always very fast and very reliable, and they have really good customer service. If you want to chat with them, like, they're very responsive about it. I bought a lot of 50mm miniatures from them. Like,
Got it.
Like OOP, British Airborne Ambulance Jeeps. You can't get that anywhere else.
That's pretty specific.
Right? Isn't it?
It's pretty specific.
How are you going to find that? But they had it.
Yeah.
And so I really appreciate them, and I really appreciate them reaching out to war game content creators and helping to support our community and, developing relationships. And I appreciate that.
We talked about it when we were approached by them. Is this somebody that we want to have as a quote-unquote sponsor? And I think I bought from him as well. I bought Weirsen Das Volk a year ago. Came really quick, and it was a great price, and it was a game I was having trouble finding, but they just got some copies. But it's a publisher that does all types of games.
Yeah, because they're like a store. They don't make their own things.
No, they're not
They're
publishers.
a buyer and a seller of stuff.
So we felt like it was a good match.
Yeah,
because we can provide to our viewers and readers on the blog, a small coupon code.
Yeah, we can pass that back on to you, but it's a savings, and we appreciate that, and hopefully we can pass that appreciation on to you as well as purchasers. So thank you very much, Noble Knight, for sponsoring this video, and we look forward to partnering in the future also. So, big old main topic.
Yeah, I gotta get my phone out.
Was submitted from one of our patrons. If you want to submit topics in the future, you can join our Patreon. If you support for $5 or more a month, you get the opportunity to submit topics for us to discuss, and we will choose one from those. So
this is not a child's toy.
Oh, it's not. It's a hobby gaming product.
I apologize. I just saw that. It's late, guys. I'm so sorry.
So
it's like 1 o'clock.
The topic was suggested by Derek Davies, and
it's a good topic.
He was asking about what war games are ones that are immersive and kind of really draw you in. And there's a bunch. There's a lot. We were talking, and he was asking, 3 games that do this. I'm like, it's hard to cut that off.
It's hard to limit it just to 3 because there are quite a few war games that are very immersive.
Yes.
And frankly, that's why we play a lot of them, because we want to understand what happened, why, and a lot of times these mechanics really make you feel that without being there. I mean, they show you how it might have been.
Immersion is part of the reason I enjoy wargaming.
Yeah.
I don't like heavy Euro games because they're very dry, I don't feel they're very immersive.
When I'm chopping wood and shipping it across 3 territories and milling it in a mill, it's hard to get immersed into that. I'm just doing it.
I always think about Russian railroads, which people in our group love it.
And you know what? We've played that 3 or 4 times. I have enjoyed every time we play, but I don't feel like it's immersive.
No, you put a worker in here, you get a cube here. Yeah. You spend the cube to do a thing here. It's just not. I don't get the immersion. I do it in a war game. So let's start.
And we're just going to do 3 each, right?
Yeah, sure.
Unless we have others. It was hard. It was hard to pare the list down.
You want to start?
Sure. How about I share one and then you can share
good.
one, and then we can talk about each other's because we agreed on many of them.
And we played most of these together.
I don't want some of these videos to come off as broken records, though. We talked a little bit about that.
Sure.
There are some games that are just those type of games where they are just so good.
Oh, yeah.
And they're so good in many different categories.
Yes.
From a historical simulation to a narrative generator to a interesting mechanic to
that's
immersion.
Also a solo game.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just some of these games are just so damn well done.
Yes.
That they will appear on multiple lists and multiple discussions over time.
And it's hard to take them off because they're like, this will be an evergreen in my collection. I will never get rid of this.
And it's also weird. I am always on that look for that next thing to kind of dethrone some game. Not really on the hunt, but I want to find another experience that makes me feel the way some of these games do.
Yeah, I know that, and I think a lot of wargamers know that. It's that you're trying to find the next thing that's that good.
Yeah.
It does. it might be a totally different style game, but like this has raised the bar for what I expect my war games to be.
Yes, and it's also ironic, and I will mention this because I want it to be out in the open. It's so interesting. We put this list together, and it's like there were 2 or 3 companies on this list, and I thought to myself, what does that say? Does that say we don't play enough different types of games or different? And I'm like, I don't think so.
Or does certain companies make different style games that I don't find that much immersion in?
Yeah, we talked about that. We love Hex Encounter war games.
Love it.
Absolutely. We have played some really fantastic ones. And there are some that are really immersive. The Dark series that we played the Dark Summer and we played the Dark Sands a couple of years ago. You played the Dark Valley. So Hex Encounter can be very immersive.
Yeah.
It really can.
Like, at any cost. Get the Battle Hymn Volume 1. Yep. Some of those games are very... But, like, there are other ones where you're like, what I'm doing is very interesting, it's very strategic.
And I'm learning something, but I'm not immersed.
This maybe from a very high level.
Yeah.
Is it immersive? You could argue whether or not. But so, the games that we've got here, like, I'm starting to get, like, some of the real...
immersion.
I'm really getting into this.
So let me start with this one because it's probably one of my favorite games of all time. So Labyrinth.
Yes.
The War on Terror.
Easy.
Yeah, Volko Ruhnke. This was one of his first games. I think he did Wilderness War. And then was it Labyrinth?
Or Wilderness War was, I believe, one of his first ones.
I don't know. Labyrinth, to me, the immersion factor is really up there so high that it's hard for me to imagine feeling the way I feel about Labyrinth about another game. I just...
Yeah.
When I play it... And more often than not, I play the U.S. because I just suck at the jihadists. I just am terrible. I've tried it, and we've...
Yes.
One game was our shortest game ever. We played like one turn, and it was over.
Yeah.
And I was the jihadist. So I just don't... But you know what? I know how to do that U.S.
It's a different... Yeah.
And I know how to be that powerful dude running around the map, fighting here and fighting there and stamping fires and... being frustrated as heck when you do what you're supposed to do. And
you're like this lumbering giant, and you're like,
I gotta
but
it just builds.
Yes,
right. It's like
if you can get it to build, it's like
you focus on 3 or 4 territories, and then before you know it, you're at 7 and 8, and you're winning the game.
And it's very hard to stop that because you're like
very hard.
Yeah,
because then you can't get to it. So the thematic elements on that one are just so fantastic. I think about the U.S. side from the overstretch and the troops. You don't want to commit too many troops because then the people back home get upset and then they start not supporting it, so your actions don't become as effective. You also want to stay aligned with every other country in the world. If people are going soft on terrorism, then you know what? You've got to shift your strategy and start being soft on terrorism.
And then you have an election and you go hard, and it's like...
And then you got to spend... Remember how you have to spend all those cards to get yourself flipped back?
Yeah, or influence everyone else to get them to hard, so they're with you, and then...
So that tug of war...
Good.
And I'm just talking about the U.S. side, because I don't have that... I've seen you do your magic, but that thematic element to me just... It gets me in, it sucks me in, and it makes me think about all of those things. Trying to stamp out your plots, trying to make sure the nukes don't get loose, and that game really gets me. It energizes me, and I feel like I'm right there. I feel like I'm an analyst.
Yes.
For
the CIA.
The CIA, looking at these things and trying to understand, okay, they're going here for Pakistan. We gotta get it. And it's just like, that's what war games should be about. It's making me feel like I'm involved.
Yeah,
and that game for me is number one. I just don't know that many other games are ever going to knock it off.
It's so good. It's one of my favorite war games of all time. Yeah. Like you said, even like the cards, the mechanics integrate so well into the theme and the tension and the feelings that it brings out. Mm-hmm. Everything works so well in that game.
Yeah.
I just love that game.
And the next part about that game that I think is so amazing is the progression historically of it.
The expansions.
Yeah, the expansions. So you've got Arab Spring and what is it called? What's that expansion called? I'm drawing a blank.
So it's Labyrinth the Awakening is the second one, and then Forever War is
the third.
The third.
They're fantastic because they don't change the basic engine of the game. they change the circumstances under which you're fighting the same enemy.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating. And then you
really good.
And then you throw in the Forever War, where you've got, a different president, and you've got a different focus, and it's just so fascinating.
Yeah, it's like the after effects of the previous expansion.
Yeah.
They're still that really cool game.
Very well done. That I could throw that thing down right now and play it, and I would be happy as a hog and slop.
Yes.
Period.
Yes.
So for me, that is about as high as the immersion gets. Now, there's other games that I've played that are very, very good as well, but I just think that's the top of the mountain for me.
Yeah.
And I started with the best one. That's probably a bad idea, but I feel that strongly.
Maybe we should have built up to that.
Yeah. I feel very strongly about it.
So, one of the games that I think is extremely immersive is Bomber Command.
Yes.
Also from GMT Games. And this is a game that continues to, poke its head up in lots of different lists because it is such a unique game. Mm-hmm. It's like a 2-player only game. It's a World War II game. It's an air war game. And it deals with a lot of very intense subject matter as well. You have the secret raid planning that the British do, planning, I think, 3 or 4 different raids, some of which are dummies, some of which are your actual bomb streams.
Mosquito raids that are just doing nothing.
And then, you've got all of the Germans, and you've got this, radar belt, and you've got all your Nachgeschwader squadrons, and you've got to launch them and patrol, and they have fuel limits, so you've got to manage all of that, trying to find the bomber streams, you're trying to penetrate the bomber streams, cause chaos to them, so that when they do bomb their target, if they get there, then it's much less effective because they're all dispersed or half of them have been shot down.
The more damage you do, the harder it is for the end bomb when they hit the target to hit the target.
Yes.
It's very and that's so fantastic.
It's
because it's really 2 games in one.
Well, it's you play this game and then you see the consequences of what you've done.
Yeah,
which is just, I don't know. A lot of war games, it's like I fight up to this point, I've got some victory points, and at the end of the game I win.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, it's like you're planning your raids, you're defending yourself with these cards and dice rolls, and I'm trying to fend everything off, and we played this game, and I played it really well, and we get to see what happens. If I played it really well, you don't bomb Dresden. Or you bomb Dresden
if I do
much
bomb,
less effectively.
I'm not going to hit anything.
Or if I play really badly and you've planned really good raids, you bomb extremely accurately and extremely successfully.
And you create fire tornadoes.
Yeah, and it gets very intense. Yep. The stuff you're doing is this is Bomber Command. This is pretty grim. And so you get to... It's very immersive in the actual gameplay of what you're doing. It's pretty crunchy at times. But then you get to... Man, it just throws you into some moral...
Yes.
Topics and dilemmas. Which
Not
is
often
just
do we play a war game where we do something and we immediately see those really bad negative effects, and they're collateral damage, right? It's not, oh, my target was destroyed. My target was destroyed and I hit a church and a neighborhood and people were killed, and it's all out war, right? And that's what it came to, right? The Bomber Command was going in, and they were going to pummel the German people and force them to
trying to break their morale,
seek for an end to the war. And it's fantastic because at the end of the day, you start to say, "Oh, why are we doing this? All we're doing is killing civilians who aren't the bad guys."
Yeah, because you're going to hit 2 or 3 of the infrastructure things, and you're going to hit a whole lot of neighborhoods too.
It's unavoidable.
It's
unavoidable.
It reminds me of Labyrinth in that way.
Yeah.
You're dealing with gripping with topics that are very interesting and really pose some pretty significant questions to yourself.
Yeah.
And you get to kind of deal with that in this format with someone else where you can kind of discuss it, and you're trying to work through this, and those games are both so good, mechanically speaking, that I think they earn the right to really challenge you and to kind of put these questions to you, and I don't know, I really enjoy playing Bomber Command because it's something so different as well.
Yeah. It is such an interesting simulation, but it also asks some real tough questions. And I think you as a player, while you have no negative ramifications,
Nope.
Those leaders of Bomber Command, they had to answer to somebody. And when those numbers came back and they realized, oh, we're doing either more or less damage, and we lost more bombers than we should have and really didn't hit anything, then why are we doing these night raids? Because they're dangerous and it's not really... And it's killing civilians. So to me, that's one of the reasons it's so thematic, is because it makes you think about that choice. Yeah. And then finally, when you're done with your bombing run, guess what? You got to make it back.
Yep.
And that is also one of the more difficult parts of the game, because you're already shot up.
Yep.
And when you get back and the German...
you've been doing all this.
Yep. And then they know where you are.
All the night fighters know probably where you're coming.
They know where you are.
And they've all refueled and they're going back up.
Yep. And it's just fascinating.
Yes.
So
really, really immersive experience.
If you haven't played Bomber Command, unfortunately, it's a 2-player game. You cannot do that solo.
No, not Bell.
So if you can't do it, say on Vassal, or I don't even know if they have it on Vassal. I'm sure they do. I mean, go to a con, find someone, play it, and it's just fantastic.
Yeah.
Just fantastic. There's several games I have on this list. I wanted to talk about 2. One by Legion Wargames, the other by Compass Games. These are games that deal with native tribes, not American Indians, but indigenous tribes in other countries. Lion of Judah from Compass Games deals with Ethiopia and the tribes there and the Germans, right?
The Italians.
I'm sorry, the Italians, sorry. And it's so fascinating because you have to work with those tribes to make sure they're on your side or not attacking you. And then
they all have to get along.
Yep.
Which is hard.
Yep.
To make that work well.
And when we played that, and that was a game we played I want to say 4 years ago.
We played that in 2018. It was the first game we played at this house.
So it was 4 years ago. And I just remember thinking about it and being caused to reflect on what war does to a technologically advanced enemy.
Yeah.
And a less prepared, less able, less capable opponent like those. And I can't remember the name of the tribes, but...
Well, yeah, there's a bunch of different ones. But
but it was just so fascinating how that ballet of, I want to fight here, but I don't want to do this, because then that'll tick them off and they'll start doing this. And just a fascinating game. I enjoyed that one so much. Yeah. Javier Romero, is that? Yeah, it's right there. Man, it's such a good game.
Yeah.
I think about that game a lot.
I do too.
And it's one of those
Javier
things...
Romero. Damn, that's a good memory.
Yeah. Well, he does such amazing games like this.
Yeah.
He does a lot of games like this.
I don't think this is available, unfortunately.
Oh, well, we shouldn't have talked about it.
Compass said they're this is on sale, and we're never redoing it. So hopefully someone else picks this up, because it is so a good. Unique game. And it's 2 games in one, really, because you play the Italian invasion.
Yep.
And then you can play the later kind of
the British
liberation with the British coming in and bringing back Haile Selassie and liberating everything.
Just such a great game. Very thematic. I really felt immersed. And frankly, for Compass Games, that is one of the most beautiful covers I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's just dripping with theme.
Yes.
The colors, just fantastic. I love that game, and I will always want to play that one as well. The other one I mentioned was Maori Wars from Legion Wargames. Legion, as you know, does very interesting topics.
Always unique.
Very unique. Maori Wars deals with the New Zealand land wars. And I'm going to tell you, that is a game that has bushwhacking. It has the building of fortified towns and huts. There's a gunboat that goes up and down the rivers.
Just one guy goes around the coast.
And we didn't play that game that much. I think we played
one of the scenarios in it.
One of the longer scenarios. And I remember thinking, we got to go back, because it was so fascinating. There were the raiders, and they had a funky mechanic where they could go off the map and you couldn't touch them, and then they would pop up later in a very bad area.
They would just ambush you, and it was like almost from anywhere. And you're like,
and I just remember thinking that is a well done game. John Paniski, Compass Game, or I'm sorry, Legion Wargames. Those two games on topics that I would never have thought would have made a compelling, good war game were fantastic. And I know you love both of those as well.
But again, it's always going to come back to, I want a game to either have extremely good mechanics or be a very interesting topic. At minimum.
Yeah.
I want at least one of those things.
Yeah.
And both Lion of Judah and Mary Wars are both very interesting topics. Mary Wars was fun. Apparently there's, I don't know. We played it and it seemed okay. A lot of people complain about the rulebook, which I don't remember it being that bad, but maybe it is.
I remember the rulebook being okay, but we
set
also
well.
have played a lot of games. The other thing about that game specifically, the map is so freaking ridiculous.
Beautiful.
It looks so good and draws you in, and it's funky too. It's like a weird scale. I'm trying to remember because it was 3 or 4 years ago.
It's like, yes, it is not your average scale that you're playing.
I almost felt like I was playing on a rolled up map that a commander would be dragging around through the bush. But it was
it's absolutely gorgeous to
I just
play.
thought all of those elements sucked me in. And I can't remember, did I play the British or did you play?
I played the British.
I played the Raiders and the New Zealanders. Yes. I'm going to be honest, that was fascinating.
Yeah, and it's that tale as old as time. You know, the Maoris are outgunned.
Yeah, there's no way they should be in that war.
But they have, you know, the lay of the land. They've got the guerrilla tactics.
They're fortified PAs, I think they were called.
Like totally asymmetric hex and counter war.
Fantastic.
Really interesting.
So I enjoyed both of those games on kind of, mechanized, industrialized nations against less prepared, less capable. But you know what? Makes for a very compelling game. And we know from history that both those sides did fairly well. And didn't necessarily win, but they didn't necessarily get destroyed.
Yes.
And you can feel that in those games. And I love those two games. We really need to do a long video on this, I think would be...
Yeah, that would be...
We could each have 15 games on this.
It's true.
And probably open the eyes of a lot of people to different games that they never would have experienced.
So thematically speaking, a game that I played reasonably recently... that is kind of just a hex and counter war game was Africa from the Gamers, which is it's standard combat series, and we played a couple of those.
Yeah, and we love the SCS system.
Really, really good.
Very simple. Very
good
understandable.
System. Yeah, and I played Africa's from 1995 or some shit. It's like super mega old. MMP did a second version of it, which is apparently excellent, but it's insanely expensive. You can't get any more. Please reprint it, MMP. So I bought Africa on the chips, $25.
Did it smell like musty basement?
Oh gosh, yes.
Okay,
it's like awful.
Then that's perfect.
It's like a beaten, battered up old copy. And as much as it's SCS, like the same rules that you buy in Rostov 41 in 2021 exist
20 years ago,
almost identical.
Yeah.
The game itself has really great North Africa theme.
Yeah.
You've got the supply rules are simple enough, but also extremely important and meaningful. Sometimes supply rules I feel are very cumbersome. And
or very, very dry.
Yeah, and like this strikes such a perfect balance between playability and yep, these are North Africa supply rules, that it really gets you into it. You can race your armies along, and if you outstrip your supply, your armies are screwed. You will just start taking immediate attrition, you can't make attacks, you can barely defend, you can't move anywhere, and you've got to race up these supply. As such, the ports are extremely key. You got to take the ports. You can't bypass El Alamein.
Yeah, you got
what is it? Tobruk, sorry.
Tobruk, yeah.
You have to take Tobruk, because if you move past it,
they'll cut
you can't use the Tobruk port for supply, and you need it. The Italian units just suck up supply at a rate of like 4 times as much as the Germans because they got to have their pasta and wine, which is like it's like a meme at this point.
Yeah.
But you know, it's part supply, part command and control. They had all these tanks, but like they were not utilizing them well early in the war, and so they're very sluggish units. And just a lot of foot-slogging soldiers that didn't have mechanized, so they were extremely slow. And so that, like, how you proportion your forces. You leave the Italians to garrison the ports, because they can kind of sit there, and it's not as bad. I got to get my supplies up to the front line, where it's all the DAC units, the Africa Corps, and you know, a couple of, because they just suck up so much supply. And how you're using your ports and moving them around just works really well. And I'm like, yes, this is North Africa. Yeah. This is what it's like being the Desert Fox or being Monty or being Alexander. This is what it feels like. And I just thought, for a $25 old game from the 90s, it really hits the spot, and it's a really nice little North Africa game. Really, really enjoyed it. And I felt like it was a North Africa game. Felt like I was there. It was great. I really enjoyed that one.
And I've seen some of your tweets on it, and I look forward to looking at your video once it comes out. But I've not played that.
Yeah,
I played a couple of the North Africa games, and I've enjoyed them. The Dark Sands was one that I really had a good time with. My last one, I would be remiss if I didn't include a coin series game.
Sure.
Because I think, like we talked about when Liberty or Death was on the table, multi-faction treatment of any war is fantastic because everybody has their own motivations, period. So what more about theme do you want than 4 asymmetric factions fighting fighting the same war and trying to win it their way?
Yes.
And that's what Coin, it boiled down to its essence, is about.
Yes.
There's a lot of other stuff about it, but Fire in the Lake. One of my favorite games of all time.
Agreed. It's amazing.
I will never not play Fire in the Lake. We've played it. How many times have we played it? 5, 6 times. We played it at WBC.
At least more. We've got it lined up for Buckeye Game Fest.
Yeah, we're gonna. Yep. So we've played it a lot. We've experienced a lot. It's just so great because, you know, you got the mighty United States and the NVA kind of opposed to each other, and both are very powerful. Both have their own capabilities, and both have their own style. And then you've got the underlings, I'm going to call them, sorry, the VC and the Arvin, and they've got their own motivations as well. And any 4 of those factions can win the game. That is a game that I think is meant extremely to be played 4-player.
Yeah.
We've played it mostly 2-player, although we did play a 4-player game.
I've played it 4-player, played some 4-player on Vassal. It's the best at 4.
Yeah.
All the coin games are the best at max players.
Yeah.
And that one is
everyone we played
extra.
at max players, we've had a fantastic time. Not that we've not at 2 players with just you and I.
Yeah, it's still good. It's still really good.
Better.
But yeah, it's just that extra that extra level. And that one's also great because I don't know, it's so visceral. I think Vietnam is like, we've all watched the documentaries. We've all watched the films.
It was a meat grinder, right? You know? It was a meat grinder for the U.S. I mean, we were there since 1965. Really, before that, with advisors, and we were there forever. But it just never ended.
And it's such an important part of like American modern culture.
Oh,
like
no
that
doubt. Music from
music.
Drug use,
influence on civil rights movements as well. Like so much of that stuff.
The protest.
And it just it being this quagmire during the wider Cold War. Like that game, you play the entirety, but most of the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
And you get to be in it, and you get to be a faction, and you're like slogging away, and it's just so good. You put on a soundtrack, and it's
well, and that when we've played it, I have like 100-song playlist that's all 1960s and 70s music, and it's just fantastic. But it just has it all. I mean, the VC are VC-like, right?
Yes.
They ambush LOCs, and they
building bases in the jungles,
bases
with
and tunnels, and you know the Arvin are just kind of, they're sucking off government money and putting it away kind of for the future and their patronage, and the U.S. wants them to stay in it, but they don't want them to have any of the money, so they're trying to spend it on what they've got.
Yeah, they're trying to get support and then like leave.
And then they've got, they got the mighty American troops, but the more of those that die, the worse it is for the Americans. And then the Arvin. I mean, you just got this massive
Ho Chi Minh,
NVA, I'm sorry. Ho Chi Minh Trail going down the entire west side of the map, and you're bombing that trail over and over again as the Americans. And what do? They just repair it and rebuild it.
Yep.
Every
pouring
turn.
In from the north, and it's just
and it's a great game. Now, the new expansion that we have played one time, we played it at WBC. It adds it adds tanks for the Arvin, the NVA, and the Americans. And man, it's so cool. It's Spearhead is a new action.
Yeah.
And there's just it just feels like a different game. And they've got another one coming out.
It's a prequel expansion, I believe.
Sovereign of Discord, I think is what it's called. But I have never played a Vietnam war game like that, and it's not a hex and counter war game.
No.
But it is thematic to the core. You can smell the napalm, and you can feel the mosquitoes and the ants on you, and when you're playing that game, you're there.
You move in and sweep, and you uncover all those guys, and then they scatter, and you're like,
yep. Oh. And it's just over and over again. And we use that phraseology of stamping fires out a lot in those kind of games, because there's always a powerful guy.
Yep.
Lots of dudes, lots of tanks, lots of missiles.
Specialize in that.
And then there's a bunch of little guys that are just out causing havoc, and you just can't eradicate them. You can never eradicate them. You're just hoping to keep them at bay and get what you need done. But that's a game I would play at a moment's notice. And is extremely thematic.
Yes, I
and if you haven't played it, I get out there and play
it's amazing.
It's amazing.
It's great.
Yep, agreed.
Another, I think so. The last one that we'll talk about in depth here is a game we played actually fairly recently.
Yeah, a couple months ago.
New one. It's Captaincy by Legion Wargames. This was kind of the first Age of Sail game that we've played in at least a long time, and this is it's a single ship on single ship frigates in the 1800s. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So, these are games like you have a card that is your ship. You have crew that you have to assign to the guns or the masts. Or to repair. You have hit points on your sails and on your hulls. You have to choose the shot type that goes in your cannon. You're then doing the actual sailing on the board. You have utilizing the wind,
using the wind,
moving around. All of that stuff, and it's dueling. It's literally we have one boat each, and so you're trying to move and get into position to get off a broadside, or to try and rake,
or board. You're trying to sometimes come in contact and board,
and it just was so enjoyable. Like I don't know all that much about Age of Sail. Watched a few movies, played a lot of Napoleon Total War that has that kind of style of naval battle in it. But playing it on a board game, being able to really get to grips with the wind and the maneuvering and the minutiae of your crew maintenance and like how you appropriate the resources there.
Yeah.
And there's nothing better than swinging around and going bang and shooting your 9 cannon out the side and chucking the dice. And there's a swinging
really hard to hit
table.
Too.
You know, if you've got good crew morale, they're well trained, you're gonna be more accurate with your fire, so it doesn't go wild and you shoot up and hit the sails when you've got ball shot instead of chain shot or the opposite. It's so neat, and like you're the captain of the ship, you're in control, and it feels like it. I really, really liked that game, and I really liked that it really put me into that.
I don't know that I would have said this before we played the game. I would have never thought this. The best part of that game was the wind.
Yep.
It was absolutely a player in the game, and you had to plan for it, and you had to use it, fight against it at your own risk. But it was so cool because there comes a time where you're going to fight against it because it's the way you're going to get into position or avoid what is coming from the guy that has the wind.
Yeah.
And it was just so fascinating. I remember thinking, what am I doing? But I could feel and see what I was doing on the board. And then anytime you have crew and you're assigning crew and they have things like morale and different types of shot. I like that game, Merchants and Marauders. It's a pick up and deliver
that's
pirate
a fun
style game. It just made me feel a lot like that one. I want to go yo ho ho and a bottle of rum. And this one I wanted to go shiver me timbers and hard larboard, and you know, all the things that you would say if I was a captain of that ship.
And you are the captain. On your turn, you select an order to give, and you yell it across the table. You know, we're going to tack into the wind. Hard to port. And because that's what you selected to do, and then you do it. And then here's the effects of that maneuver. Really,
it puts you out of position.
Yeah. Yes.
You're done. Yeah.
Yes.
Good luck.
On your first game, a lot of that.
Yeah.
It was so enjoyable. You're the real captain of that ship. You're making it work. If you're a bad captain, you will lose that game. And I think
if you're a good captain, you can lose the game.
It's true.
But if your captain's better than,
it's really neat to just do that and to play that. As a game, as a war game experience, it was very unique to other games that we've played.
As I said, who would have ever thought a game where the main player is wind would even be interesting?
Yeah.
Much less so engaging that
you're like,
we were blown away.
Nice. That was on purpose. That was nice.
And it's just, I don't know, that to me is what a thematic war game is about.
Yes, I agree.
Sometimes we lose that in wargaming because we're so interested in the simulation and so interested in the nuts and the bolts and sometimes those kind of games are just fantastic.
Yeah.
Maybe they're not totally accurate. Maybe they're not really simulations or historically correct, but you know what? I'm playing it and I feel like I'm there. And that's what's always so very, very cool. I enjoy a good thematic war game. I would rather play a thematic one any day than a game that's just dull and moving counters around and doesn't get me
And
engaged.
I think all the ones that we've talked about give you both of those things.
Agreed. Agreed.
And that's how you go from a good war game to like a great or an excellent war game. Any special honorable mentions?
Let me look at my list. What do you got? There's so many.
Here I Stand.
Oh my gosh.
Atlantic Chase.
Is so freaking amazing.
Those two.
Atlantic Chase, that was a game I wanted to add, but I'm like, I still am not sure I really get that game, but that's what makes it great.
Really like that game.
Yeah, I'm just not sure I get how I'm going to do what I need to do. Here I Stand is fantastic. I would throw Virgin Queen in there because it's the same
almost
style.
One of the same there. Those were...
What was another game that I really... I mean, I would say Combat Commander, and most people are going to literally snicker at me. I love Combat Commander. I don't know what it is about it. I love the card play. I love the chaos. I love the sniper fire in Hex G7. And you're like, damn it, my guy was sitting there. That's what a good game is about. That can happen at any time. And Combat Commander has that vehicle, that deck, that allows that to happen. And it's just so fascinating. Not to mention, it's small scale, squad level, tactical, just chaos. I just think that's the word I use about that game all the time. And I love it. I've lost that game so many times. But you know what? I had a great time, and I felt like I was commanding my little squad.
Yeah.
And I used to do those AARs when we first started, and one of my favorite things to do in there was come up with a quote from history that would solidify or establish what happened during that AAR or during that game. And we like, don't interrupt an enemy when he's making a mistake. That was one thing you said during it because you were murdering me. Another one, I think I was the Russians, and I literally ran through the middle of your defenses, and you couldn't get a fire card.
I think was that the where I was in the trenches? There was one game we played that lasted all of about 2 rounds.
I think that was literally.
I was in some trenches. You ran in, gunned me down, and I was like, huh.
It was so.
It was great. It was a great story.
Yep, I loved thinking about those things when I was playing those games because it got me involved in it, and really made it so I, in some way, felt like I was there. So anyway, there's more games, but those are games that I just The first 4 I said were just fantastic. These other 2 or 3 are just awesome as well. So
Yeah,
Churchill's another one. I love Churchill. Every time we play that, not sure that's a true war game, but
no, yeah,
who cares? It's great. It's amazing. I love it.
Yeah, I
love it.
Theme is such an important part of games, and
Yeah.
I think you'd be hard pressed to find someone that would disagree, because if I've got 2 equal games, the one that's a theme that I think is interesting or I enjoy is always going to win out.
Yeah,
like
there's no doubt.
I'm always going to think this is better or more enjoyable, right? That's just kind of like a fact. That's like human nature, I suppose.
Yeah.
And so anytime you can marry that with excellent mechanics, or at least something interesting in the mechanics, that's where wargaming really shines for me.
I would agree wholeheartedly.
So that was some thematic games. If you've got thematic games that you think are worth kind of putting out there, put them in the comments below. Let us know what games you love that are immersive and you really get into. I know people are going to be asking, oh, what good solitaire games are there? There's a bunch. Ranger from Omega Games. I think Fields of Fire, but I know people can disagree with me on that one.
I haven't even ever tried
so
that.
Good. And I play Target for Today, Target for Tonight from Legion War Games. Those style and the Greg Smith ones, the more you put in,
the more you get out.
The more you get out when it comes to immersion. So I treat those as like a role playing game basically, and I get a lot out of them because
if you don't, they're just chart flipping.
Yes.
You've got to insert that element of that narrative and role playing, because that's where you're going to get the most out of that game.
Whereas something like Ranger, you play the mechanics, and the mechanics immerse you.
Yeah.
So that's a bit more natural, so probably a bit more appropriate for the list. But yeah, let us know what immersive games you enjoy playing, and then we will probably look those up too. One last thank you to our sponsor, Noble Knight Games. Remember, use the code PLAYAID, PLAYAID, to get 5% off on anything and everything in their store. And tell me you sent us. How about that?
Yeah.
So appreciate you very much for tuning in. We'll do this again in 2 weeks. I've been Alexander from theplayersaid.com.
And I'm Grant.